After a fight with her fiancé, Michelle packed her things and left. She placed her engagement ring and the apartment keys on the table before driving through the countryside for a long time. She stopped at a gas station and noticed a car that had been following her for a while. Late at night, her fiancé called, trying to convince her to return, but Michelle didn't want to talk. She turned on the radio and heard a news report about widespread power outages. Distracted, she got into an accident. The car flipped over several times before crashing onto the roadside. Michelle lost consciousness. Sometime later, she woke up in a concrete room. An IV was connected to her arm and her leg was bandaged and restrained with metal chains. Her belongings were piled in the corner. Using the IV stand, Michelle reached for her phone, but there was no signal. She then heard footsteps. A large man entered, placed a tray of food in front of her, and left. Michelle begged him to let her go, promising not to tell anyone. The man told her he wasn't going to let her die. He left the key to her shackles before walking out. Michelle freed herself, got dressed, and sharpened the end of a crutch, preparing to fight for her freedom. But the man was gone. She set a piece of clothing on fire and pushed it into the ventilation duct. The fire alarm went off, and when the man rushed in, he injected her with something, causing her to pass out. When Michelle regained consciousness, she saw the man sitting by her bed. He told her that she was actually very lucky to be there, and insisted that she eat and take her Medicat. According to him, humans had been attacked, though it was still unclear what kind of attack it was. They were now in a bunker beneath his farm. He had seen her crash and couldn't leave her to die. Michelle insisted on calling the police, but the man explained that the outside world was contaminated. He said it would take at least a year for the air to be breathable again, and that was only if it had been a simple attack. If it was something like Martians, humanity might be doomed. Michelle asked to contact her family, but the man assured her that everyone left on the surface was dead. As Michelle tried to process what she'd heard, there was a loud noise from the next room. The man left the door open and shouted at someone, then returned and angrily reminded her that she should be grateful for him saving her life. Before leaving, he introduced himself as Howard. The next morning, Michelle was awakened by a sound from the surface and noticed the door was open. She walked out and woke a young man sleeping in the hallway. He tried to reassure her, but Michelle explained that she didn't believe Howard's lies. However, the young man, Emmett, confirmed that everything was indeed as Howard had said. Later, Howard showed Michelle the rest of the bunker. At its center was a communal area with a special system that filtered the air. There was a library, a TV, and a collection of movies. The kitchen was impressive, equipped with an electric stove, fridge, and silverware. The table, Howard explained, was a family heirloom. Access to his personal room was forbidden. Michelle had to use the toilet behind a curtain because Howard feared she might try something dangerous again, like starting a fire. Water had to be used sparingly. After the tour, Howard invited her to sit at the table for lunch. Michelle noticed a stack of women's magazines. Howard explained that they had belonged to Megan, who was no longer with them. Suddenly, Michelle heard a noise outside and guessed it might be a passing car. Howard assured her that was impossible. He was tired of explaining that no one was left above. Even though people had called him crazy when he started building the bunker, he had continued anyway. He then offered Michelle a chance to see for herself. He led her to a staircase, and at the top was a door with a small window. At first glance, the outside world looked different, but in a pen in front of the house lay dead pigs covered in deep sores. Howard explained that they had been his pigs, and he couldn't save them. Michelle recognized his car as the one that had followed her the night of the accident. Howard pointed out that the doors were always locked and showed her the key. Later, Michelle and Emmett discussed the situation. Emmett revealed that Howard had served in the Navy. Afterward, he had bought the farm and hired Emmett to help with chores. Howard was obsessed with conspiracy theories, which was why he built the bunker. Emmett hadn't been kidnapped. He had run to Howard's bunker for shelter, having seen Howard pour all his money into its construction. Michelle reminded Emmett that Howard had caused her accident and brought her here. She insisted that everything he said about an attack was a lie. But Emmett disagreed. He claimed to have seen the attack himself, a flash, an explosion, and the horizon turning red. He was glad he had made it to the bunker before Howard locked the door. Unaware that Howard had been standing in the doorway listening, Michelle tried to refute his claims. Howard invited them to dinner, remarking that they seemed to have gotten along well. During dinner, Emmett spoke about his unfulfilled dreams. He noticed a Monopoly game and suggested playing to pass the time. Howard grew annoyed by the chatter. Michelle flirted with Emmett, provoking an angry outburst from Howard. He yelled at her, demanding respect for having saved her life. While he scolded them, Michelle managed to steal the keys from his belt. Howard noticed her strange behavior and realized the keys were missing. Before he could react, a noise from above distracted him. Michelle struck him over the head with a bottle and ran for the bunker exit. Emmett shouted for her to stop, but Michelle reached the door and slipped into the airlock just before Howard caught up. Outside, she saw a car approaching the farm and screamed, trying to get the driver's attention. A woman, suffering from a severe skin infection, ran to the window, begging to be let into the bunker. Howard forbade Michelle from helping her, saying it was too late to save her. Realizing that some kind of attack had indeed occurred, Michelle returned to the bunker. Later, Howard admitted to having caused Michelle's accident but claimed that the accident had saved her life. He lent her some of Megan's clothes and sent her to shower, since she had been near the door. He revealed that he recognized the infected woman as his former neighbor. Since many people knew about his bunker, he feared others might come too. Howard demanded that Michelle stitch up the wound she had caused. As she began, he told funny stories from his time in the Navy and praised her for her efforts. Later, he brought in a box containing her belongings and asked her about her life. Michelle admitted that she had once dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. In turn, Howard said that his daughter Megan had wanted to be an artist. He showed her a picture of a young girl and explained that after his divorce, Megan's mother had taken her to Chicago and turned her against him. Howard expressed his frustration that people didn't care about their safety, but at least he had tried to protect them. Later, Emmett comforted Michelle, telling her that even if they had let the woman in, she wouldn't have survived. They reminisced about their past lives. Emmett revealed that he had received a scholarship to a polytechnic school but got scared and never went. Michelle spoke about how her father used to beat her, leaving her terrified of confrontation throughout her life. Emmett reminded her that, despite everything, they were the lucky ones. They had survived. Over the next few days, the three began to coexist somewhat peacefully. They played games, prepared meals together, and made small attempts to adjust to their new lives. One day, a loud noise echoed from above. Howard suggested that if it was the military, it wasn't Earth's military. The earlier flashes had just been the first phase. Now the second phase, clearing out territories, had begun, likely by alien forces. Suddenly, the air filtration system failed. Howard asked Michelle to climb through the ventilation shaft to restart it, as she was the only one small enough to fit. She agreed and crawled through the ducts. Eventually, she reached the unit and managed to restart it. But while there, she spotted something disturbing, a message etched into the glass that read "Help," along with a bloody earring beneath a ladder. The earring looked exactly like the one Megan had worn in the photo. Shaken, Michelle told Emmett about her discovery. He inspected the photo more closely and realized the girl wasn't Megan but Brittany, a classmate of his sister who had gone missing years ago. A second photograph fell from a book, showing Howard and Brittany, both dressed in the same clothes Michelle now wore, standing together in the bunker. Realizing the danger they were in, Michelle and Emmett began planning their escape. They quietly started gathering materials. Michelle made a makeshift biohazard suit from a shower curtain, and Emmett constructed a homemade gas mask. Their plan was to take Howard's gun, tie him up, and have one of them go for help. One evening, while playing charades, they nearly gave themselves away when Howard grew suspicious. A few days later, he called them into a room and showed them a barrel of hydrochloric acid, which he claimed was for waste disposal. He then accused them of plotting against him, revealing the hidden tools meant for their escape. Furious, Howard dissolved the tools in acid. Trying to protect Michelle, Emmett took the blame, admitting he had tried to make a weapon. Seemingly accepting the apology, Howard suddenly shot and killed Emmett. Shocked and heartbroken, Michelle watched as Howard calmly reassured her, promising that no one would ever harm her again. He offered her ice cream and spoke about building a happy life together in the bunker. Determined to escape, Michelle rushed to finish her suit while mourning Emmett. But one night, Howard discovered it among her belongings. Michelle managed to slip past him, but he caught up and scolded her for her ingratitude. In a desperate move, she knocked over the barrel of acid onto Howard, causing a fire to break out in the bunker. Michelle grabbed her suit as the severely injured Howard tried to attack her. She trapped him under a heavy shelf and made her way to the exit. The bunker was engulfed in flames. Crawling through the ventilation shaft, she dodged Howard's attempts to stab her through the grates. She reached the air filtration room, donned her suit, and used a nitrogen canister to freeze and break the lock on the outer door. Outside, Michelle headed toward a car but tore her suit. Panicking, she sealed the rip with duct tape she found inside the vehicle. Just as she began to relax, she saw birds flying freely overhead. Realizing the air wasn't toxic, she removed her gas mask. Before she could celebrate, she spotted an alien spaceship hovering in the distance. The bunker exploded behind her, drawing the aliens' attention. Michelle frantically searched for keys but couldn't find them. She ran to the other woman's car, but the alarm went off, alerting the alien. Terrified, Michelle hid in a nearby shed, where she found the corpse of the infected woman. Searching the body, she found the keys just as the alien began investigating the shed, trying to force its way through the animal door. Taking advantage of the distraction, Michelle sprinted toward Howard's house. But the alien ship flew overhead, releasing poisonous gas. She quickly put on her mask and survived the chemical attack, hiding in a car. The alien began probing the vehicle. When it found the car too difficult to breach, the ship lifted it into the air. Inside, Michelle found a bottle of flammable liquid and a lighter. She made a Molotov cocktail and threw it into the ship's mouth-like opening. The explosion destroyed the alien, and the car crashed to the ground. Michelle survived, climbed out, and drove away in the woman's car. While driving, she tuned the radio and heard news reports of humanity's victories over the invaders. There were instructions for survivors to evacuate, and a call for anyone with medical or combat training to head to Houston. As she listened, she saw a sign pointing to Houston. Determined to help, Michelle drove in that direction. As lightning flashed, she glimpsed an even larger alien ship looming in the sky. Though the film might not be considered a masterpiece, the team's skillful execution was undeniable. The script drew viewers in gradually, raising unsettling questions about who could truly be trusted. What did you think? Did the ending surprise you, or were you expecting it all along? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next movie breakdown. Want more? Check out our recap of similar movie right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.